what I understand both from my grandfather and from George that I've just been talking about, because George's grandparents worked on the tugs, and all the tug people, the River Weir Commissioner people, were offered the first choice of accommodation in the Garth, because obviously it was so close to the river. So particularly in Weir Garth, there was a big number of tugboat families, because the job was passed down through the generations. And so Wilkinsons and Thompsons, lots of them, if you look at the tugboat skipper names, lots of them lived in the Garth, particularly Weir Garth, and they were given preference.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and most of them,
on the
sensibly,
doorstep of it.
are on the bottom.
Yes.
We started off at James William Street, and then it closed partly, and we were transferred to Moor Board.
I've heard of it.
Yes, round by the barracks.
Round by the barracks. I didn't know about it until you mentioned it.
And when we were there, when I was there, we then did our 11 plus from there. And Colin went to the technical college with the brown, what is Saxon now, the browny orange blazers. Then we were only supposed to be at Moor Board temporarily, and then we moved. All the girls moved to Hudson Road. The boys, which I only realised recently because my mum just died recently, so we were clearing a lot of things out of my house, and we came across my brother's, well, all of our school reports. And when I looked at my youngest brother, and I was looking at the date, and I said, oh, well, how have you got these from James William Street? And he went, well, that's where I went. When I looked at the date, I thought, oh, I didn't realise. The boys had gone back to James William Street, and it had become an all-boys. But then when that closed, they then moved up to the boys section of Hudson Road.
Right.
So we ended up, we were all at Hudson Road. You can't actually see it very well. Well, you can't see anything, but I just want to illustrate it. Because of the corners like that, you can imagine only the people on the ground floor had anywhere to actually hang their washing. So the people on the ground floor, there's none out here because it's winter, but all these houses on the ground floor would hang their washing on just an ordinary line with a prop in outside their doors, either side of their door. You could try that up there, but of course people were always passing, and they were like knocking the washing and knocking the prop out and things like that. My mother and a few others used to actually tie a rope from there, and it wasn't a proper washing line, it was a rope tied from there to there, doubled across the corner. Yeah, across the corner, like on a pulley system.
I was going to say it would have to be on a
but with no pulley.
Yes, just manual.
And you can't believe how heavy that was, because once you got wet washing on and you start pulling it, absolutely, I don't know how. I used to go along with my mother when she was doing it because I was frightened. She'd be pulled over the edge with the weight because she was only a tiny little thing.
I mean, it's quite a vast area as well.
And you would,
know what I mean?
and you would amend that. No, oh no, you would amend that depending on the size of your washing load, you know. But yes, of course there. But my mum was really strong and really tough. She'd worked in the ropery, Gleeholm and Robson's during the war, working on the bales of wire rope, and you had to lift those manually. So although she was only tiny, she was very, very strong. But I used to be terrified. I used to be terrified.
I don't think
and when I got into my teens and we were in Burleygarth, and my mum would go and hang them out before she went to work on a morning. If it started to rain, I would try and bring them in myself. And even though I was quite strong, I struggled. Because I mean, towels, bedding, jeans.
I know yourself, just when you get stuff out and wash it, which is 100 times drier
than
it would have been in
those
days.
I don't know how she did it. I really don't. Yeah, and she used to have two lines of washing out with no pulley. Yes, I've said about the little Methodist church, which I've shown you. Yeah. And that was affiliated to Sand Street Methodist.
So was that built?
There was one of these in each of the Garths, and it was a little hut that the council in the public works, which it wasn't public works then because it was North East Housing Association, and they would keep their maintenance and repair equipment in there and just drive in. This is obviously taken from the veranda at the other side, so the archway is there leading through to early Garth. And there weren't really, I mean, the ice cream man used to come in, the coal man used to come and deliver the coal in bags. Anything that needed delivering came there, but there was no way of getting anything up other than carrying it up the stairs.
So would the coal man just literally deliver them to one spot and then the individuals?
If you were very lucky, when we were in Garth, I can remember that the coal man that my mum knew, because I think he knew my mum was very, well, he knew my mum was very small, he knew my mum, and obviously my grandparents were, I think my grandfather was dead by then, but my grandmother was, you know, in ill health and things, and he used to carry it up. But I think my mum used to pay him extra for doing that. But then occasionally, in the bad weather, when the coal was very wet, obviously it weighed heavier, and you wouldn't. So he used to empty it downstairs, and we used to have to shovel it and carry it up all the stairs. So it was like all hands on deck, really. But if you didn't do that, you didn't have hot water.
You had to have it.
Couldn't cook. Well, we were lucky. We had my mum was very much ahead of our time, really, and she saved and saved, and she got an electric cooker, and she saved and saved, and she got a washing machine with a big tub. I mean, people used to come from around the Garths to have a look at it because it was unheard of.
So when she got those, was the in the flat or the room itself, was the amenities there to put them in, or did you have to get like
there were some,
electric,
but
you know
you
what I
had,
mean?
yes,
I was going to say
they
they
didn't
wouldn't have been catered for at the time.
No, there weren't. And it was kind of like a scullery type thing, which we had a little eating table in, which had an oil-based cloth on, so my mum could bake and cook on there as well. Tiny little sink and little wash bit, and this sort of drainer on one side of it, and some cupboards above. So really, these are the back verandas here. Because the front verandas were continuous all the way around. The back verandas, you had your own veranda, which usually, well, no, you didn't. Sometimes you shared it. So your back door might be there and two windows, but some of them had two back doors on, and half was yours and half was somebody else's. And my mum, so these windows are your back bedroom windows. My mum used to stand out on a half tile and hang onto the frame to clean the outside of the windows. Again, as a child, I must have been in a permanent state of fear because I'd be watching her like a hawk, and I'd see the wash leather coming out. And I used to go in the bedroom with her because I was so terrified. I don't know what I thought I was going to do as a child, but she would stand there and cling on, open the window.
I don't see how that's possible. Just, you know, just looking and imagining.
Oh, well, as I say, we were on the top veranda, and she used to do that to clean the windows. It wasn't a consideration that you don't bother. That wasn't a consideration at all.
The windows needed cleaning.
The windows needed cleaning. So she would do that on one, open the little window on one side and do it, and then she'd go at the other side and do the same, hoping that she'd be able to meet in the middle. And I mean, there was nothing like a quick wipe, you know. They had to be done properly. They were wash leathered with a bit of vinegar in the water, and then they were rinsed. They were dried, and then they were polished, and then as she stepped back in, she'd be wiping because it was only a half a tile. It wasn't even a full tile, half a tile. No, and then she'd be wiping the tiles with the cloth. And she was like retreating back through this window. Any one of those points she could have gone. She would have been a goner. And that's a vivid recollection of my mum. And the other